Welcome! Some time ago, I played Resident Evil 2 Remake and it made me think back on the original. There are already many parodies of Resident Evil in general on the internet, but what I offer you is more a reasoning. In case you didn't know what this franchise is all about, the story revolves around this pharmaceutical company called Umbrella that is actually corrupted and derives its greatest income from the production and resale of biological weapons. But one of these gets out of control and we have zombies. This the plot in a nutshell. We are skipping the first chapter of the series and move straight to the second, because the first, after all, might actually make sense. So, the game starts with Leon that drives his jeep to Raccoon City, and the first question we have to ask ourselves is, why does he reach the city at night? We know he hasn't finished his training since long and that he is to start his first day as a police officer the following day. If I were him, I'd call it a night and just go to bed so to be in good shape for the following 24 hours. But maybe he's one of those guys who say, "It's my last free day, I wanna have fun." And so he preferred spending his last night with his pals rather than in his room resting. It's acceptable, but then the question, instead of why does he arrive at night, becomes at what hour of the night does he arrive? I've done some researches and I think we can rule down the possible time to a pretty limited range. Not exactly what you call precise, but better than nothing. We know that the entire misadventure of his, and Claire's, the female character, takes place in a single night, at the end of September. Now, we know that it varies from place to place around the globe, obviously, but we can say that the sun should have set sometime around 7 p.m. and will rise sometime around 7 a.m. At the end of the path, we have this cool cutscene where the three of them, Ada is apparently lost in action but Sherry is saved, walk towards the sun and Sherry says, "Maybe you two can adopt me." Now, if we check the sun, it does seem like it's just risen, so let's go with 7 a.m. The game is deliberately made realistical, so what is done by the characters in-game, apart from the damage sustained by us players, i.e. not in cutscenes, must be possible in reality too. At the end of the playthrough, the game assesses our skills, keeping multiple points in consideration. Amongst these we have difficulty chosen and total clear time. There is a time limit within which you are to complete the story if you want to get the highest score. We'll assume that our hero and heroine, because of their position and role, will tackle the challenge that is the game to us at the highest difficulty and get the highest score. So, the time limit for the highest difficulty is less than 4 hours. Again, we take the numbers with a pinch of salt, we concede a bit more, just to be on the safe side. If they have finished the mission at 7 a.m. and have taken around 4 hours tops to complete it, it means they have reached the city at least at 3 a.m. And that doesn't really make much sense now, does it? But we are forgetting something. Those 4 hours, keep in mind the speedrun world record by Orchlon is less than 1 hour for practically every path and every difficulty, are IGT, that is, in-game time, if you're not into these kind of things. I have estimated around another hour, counting all the dialogues and the cutscenes, and that brings the total to 5 hours. 7 minus 5 is 2. In the morning. But we are generous, we concede them more, even though there's no reason to. We give them 6 hours. No, let's make it 7. That way, it just makes it a clean midnight for the time their adventure starts. Convenient, ain't it? Anyways, Leon reaching the city at that point of the night, I have nothing to say, okay? He's young, he's strong, his name is Leon after all. Check out the hair, he's the cool guy, okay? It's okay. But what about Claire? Leon is in town because he is supposed to. He is to start his new job as a police officer come dawn. But her? When Claire meets Leon and he asks her why she's in town, her answer is, "I came to find my brother Chris." Which doesn't make any sense. Remember that we have just proved, being extremely lax in the definition of the ranges, that it's at least midnight when Leon reaches the city, and if they meet, it means that it's at least midnight when Claire gets to the city too. Now, what part of a girl, alone, on a motorcycle, in the rain according to the remake, searching for his brother at least at midnight makes sense? None. But maybe the problem stands elsewhere. Maybe it's a wrong translation. So let's go check the Japanese. I'll spare you the original, for my Japanese pronunciation is even worse than my English is, but the RE2 translation, taken from the canonical subtitles, is I am searching for my brother, Chris. That's this cool guy on YouTube, his channel's The Gaming Restoration, that's made a, believe it or not, restored version of the opening FMVs to RE2 OG. Check it if you want. There you can check the original words used. Back to her statement. I am searching for my brother Chris. What does that mean? Does it mean that you were with him up to a moment ago and that you've lost him now? Is he a kid? Leon's supposed to be a policeman and yet he behaves pretty aloof in this regard. Does it mean that you've just learned of the existence of this brother of yours and you were told that he lives in this city? Why would you come at midnight then? Why wouldn't you call the police or a private investigator? What do you hope to achieve alone? Does it mean that you know, for whatever reason, that nobody else knows and that you never mentioned that he is in danger? How come you seem so calm then? Have you called the police? Why are you here? At midnight anyways. See? Something doesn't add up, no matter how you decide to look at things. Now, you may say that Chris has called for her, because he needs her, but what could you need your sister for? At midnight. What could be so important and urgent to make her travel some distance alone in the night to get to you? And we know she's traveled some distance because when she stops her bike, she says, "Ah, I'm finally here." Plus, if that were the case, if he had called for her, she wouldn't say, "I'm searching for him." She'd say, "I'm here to meet him," or something. So, this possibility is ruled out right away. We know that she knows that she's got a brother, and this brother of hers is no fool, and she knows this as well. He is a special agent of this super cool specialized section of the Raccoon City Police Department called STARS. Okay, we use him as a main character in the 5th chapter of the series after he's undergone heavy muscle stimulant administration, and at the end of his adventure he lifts a boulder, punching it. Yes, you heard right. He's got so much strength in his pumped up biceps that he can lift a boulder bigger than him by punching it. And this cute little girl, dressed in pink, thinks she can save him or something? I don't want to sound sexist or anything, but... okay? Something doesn't really add up here, but nobody ever touches upon this argument in the game. Has Claire at least tried calling him? I know the game takes place in the 90s, but cell phones already existed back then. Okay, there were no smartphones, no WhatsApp, no Snapchat and the likes, but you could still communicate with others by other means than writing a letter or sending a pigeon. He didn't answer? Well, she knows he works at a police station, they must have a cell phone there. Call them and tell them, "I'm Claire, sister to Chris, I haven't heard from him in a long time, I'm worried. Could you please tell me if he's alright?" "He's alright, okay, thanks." There, problem solved. No, she sets off alone, lightly dressed on a motorcycle under the rain at midnight. Yes, that does really make more sense. Now, there are other points along the way I'd like to touch, but this video would get like an hour long, so let's cut short and get to the end. I'll just point out that had I been in Leon's position, the first thing I'd have done is find another car and get the hell out of that city, get more help, and only then play hero and try to help everyone. Just saying. At the end of the 4 routes, we get slightly different endings, but we'll go with Leon A cause it's the funniest, and the reasoning can be used with the other routes anyways. In this route, Leon's met Ada! because that's the only way you can call her. Now, obviously Leon's all over. Ada! And when she obviously gets wounded, and he had already got wounded because of her, but then she like patched him up by placing a bandage over his clothes because she's disgusted with the idea of touching him, so he has to defend her, etc., etc. He leaves her alone in a laboratory surrounded by murderous biological organic weapons and goes in search of a way out. Now, Ada! Turns out to be a spy, and Annette knew it, because she introduced herself by her full name. Her real full name. And when Leon ends up putting his hands on the G-virus, do we want to talk about the fact that Annette put a virus that can be transmitted via air inside a medallion worn by an elementary schooler? She points her gun at him and tells him to give it to her. The G-virus. But then Leon tells her that she can't do that. In Japanese, he actually tells her to try and do it, but whatever. And she desists, but Annette shoots her, and then a beam falls on her head. Now, Annette's aim sucks worse than mine without glasses, holding a 50 cal on a speeding AV, and only gets shoulders. She is the one who actually wounded Leon in the first place, and she somehow kind of fall off the bridge they conveniently had placed themselves on. Yes, but Leon is ready and catches her. A tear-jerking scene ensues, and we all go get a sandwich in the meantime. At the end of the scene, Leon, who's lost the only girl who'll ever actually consider giving it to him, is disrupted and does the only logical thing. He looks at the purple vial and starts talking to himself. "This is the reason you died for." In Japanese he says, "because such a thing exists," and tosses the vial away. Not even to his feet, that way he'd have been at least sure it was destroyed. He'd have also been infected, but no, he tosses it away. Smart move, man. For real, you have just destroyed the sole, undeniable proof that Umbrella was behind all this. Congratulations, you dumb man. That was the stupidest thing to do. Keep it to yourself and sell it on the black market, you'll make billions. Keep it and deliver it to the President of the USA, you'll become a friggin' hero. Keep it protected and give it to a researcher. Imagine what a just person could do with it. After all, what the virus does is regenerate cells. Can you think of an illness that does exactly the opposite? Like, I don't know, cancer? I'll tell you another. It's an illness everyone is affected by, since the moment they are born. And it's called aging. Make your deductions. Leon could have ended the series there and then. We could all be immortal and immune to every type of disease, or at least we'd have a reliable cure to currently uncurable diseases, but no. And tosses the thing. You blithering idiot. Anyways, the video's ended. If you liked it, like it, subscribe and comment. If I've made a mistake, do let me know and like and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, chances are you didn't get to this point, so I've only got one thing to say to you.
Come back anytime.